Hello, Planeswalkers. Welcome to Tasigur TV. I'm your host, Tasigur, aka the Golden Fang, aka the Opulent One, aka the Dragon's Necklace, aka Delve Daddy. In this episode, the mechanics of conspiracy take the crown. I'll delve further into the world of competitive multiplayer with a look at what it means for the 11th Guild to play multiplayer competitively. Next is my feature on all of the new tools coming to your multiplayer group in a conspiracy set near you. Then, I'll scavenge through the pages of Magic lore to find out everything I can about Kaladesh in preparation for the set's intro at PAX. And finally, I'll tutor for you, you'll tutor for me, and we'll be talking strategy by battling in my first match of the Eldritch Moon Sealed League on MTGO. Turn the page, zombie. Let's delve into the 11th Guild and some competitive multiplayer play. For the last few years, the most common way 11th Guild members have done battle is called the 11th Guild Tour. Now, it isn't called the Tour because the event travels from place to place. No, it is surprising some guild members will even travel between kitchens. The 11th Guild calls it the Tour because it is modeled after Magic the Gathering's very own Pro Tour. In a Dragon Eggshell, the members of the 11th Guild alternate between Draft and Standard, and overall records determine fame and prizes. Let me break it down for you. When the 11th Guild drafts for their tour, they play at least 3 games of multiplayer Magic to rank themselves against one another. When that draft and subsequent games are complete, all cards from the draft are placed face up on the table and a second draft occurs. This time, cards are plucked from the entire collection one player at a time, in order, based on rankings from the draft games. As guild members draft the cards this time around, it is for keeps, and the selected cards are added to that member's standard pool. When the 11th Guild plays Standard, decks may only contain cards that were obtained during official 11th Guild Tour drafts. With each new large Magic set release, the cards that rotate out of Standard are rotated out of the guild members' pools, and the cycle of competitive fun continues. Aside from adding a competitive edge to their games, there are other reasons the 11th Guild prefers to game this way. One reason is economics. If the guild did not have the pool restriction in Standard, a casual game with a competitive twist would suddenly devolve into a game of who has the money for 4 of the new Lilianas. One cannot live opulently and hemorrhage money that way at the same time. Drafting a second time for keeps helps keep the pool balanced too, because even the player that finishes a draft in 5th place gets the 5th best card in the draft, preventing luck, or lack thereof, from drastically affecting that member's ability to play Standard in the tour. So we got that, but how do players actually rank themselves against one another in multiplayer guild games? Well, that is for another episode, but the guild uses a point system. Here are the results from the 11th Guild's Monday night draft. What do you think of the 11th Guild Tour? Does your Magic group do things in a unique way? Tell me in the comments below. Links to the 11th Guild League and its stats in the description. Turn the page, zombie. Let's feature the multiplayer-friendly mechanics of Conspiracy Take the Crown. Some mechanics are all new, brand new, others are new twists on old favorites, and some are just old favorites. First up, the Monarch. Let's read the token together because the entire set revolves around it. At the beginning yo end step, draw a card. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, its controller becomes the Monarch. Now, some of you may be thinking that I read that first sentence a little weird, but I assure you, WotC is trying out new fun slang, and that is how the sentence is supposed to sound when you drop the of. Aside from attacking and blocking, to gain control of or defend the monarchy, there are many cards in the set that can make you the monarch instantly, like Queen Marquesa or Throne of the Black Rose. Other cards, like Throne Warden, care about your monarch status to achieve greater things. Conspiracies and Draft Matters cards return, but now many have color identity, which allows them to do more powerful things, and selecting them in the draft is that much more interesting. Natural Unity highlights the return of Hidden Agenda to conspiracy cards. It is a conspiracy that cannot be used in every deck because it has a green mana activated ability. Custody Peacekeeper is another example of the Draft Matters theme in action. You want to take this card as late in the draft as possible, but wheeling it around the table is always a risk. Voting returns. Council's Dilemma, as seen on Capital Punishment, works similar to the Will of the Council mechanic from the original Conspiracy. But instead of one large effect or another based on the vote, you get multiple effects that scale with each vote. Cards that can manipulate the vote, like Illusion of Choice, also make a return to Conspiracy. Goad is an ability that forces a creature an opponent controls to attack a player other than you, if possible, during its controller's next turn. Some cards like Jeering Homunculus can goad as a one-time effect. Other cards, like the legendary Goblin Grenzo, can goad over and over again every time his mob do what it do best. Goad is an ability that will certainly get multiplayer games moving along, and a single goad can seriously break up a steel battlefield, possibly a few friendships. Melee is an incredibly powerful ability that scales with the number of opponents you face. Your attacking melee creatures get +1/+1 for each opponent that you are attacking. Even if your deputized protester is the only creature attacking a single player, it gets +1/+1. There are powerful cards like Adriana, Captain of the Guard, that can grant melee to other creatures. This is scary because each instance of melee stacks on top of the others, like Prowess or Exalted stack. Melee is a good way to take on and or upset multiple opponents at once. Perfect. Another notable returning mechanic is Monstrosity. A domesticated Hydra is apparently an acceptable street pet in the high city of Paliano. How many Hydra owners are eaten each year? It has to be a non-zero number. There are quite a few notable reprints in Conspiracy Take the Crown. Those cards include Berserk, Inquisition of Kozilek, Phyrexian Arena, and Serum Visions. Finally, I want to mention Recruiter of the Guard. The card is not an actual reprint, but a white mana-shifted version of Imperial Recruiter. A popular card in Eternal formats from a set that had a small print run and is hard to find. What is your favorite mechanic from Conspiracy Take the Crown? Are there any mechanics that just don't excite you? What do you think of all the reprints? Let me know in the comments below. Turn that page, zombie. Let's dredge the Magic community for news. Draft leagues are coming to MTGO. Draft leagues will essentially be a draft and a sealed league stitched together. When a player joins a draft league, they will enter an 8-person draft queue that will launch when it is full. After the draft, players will have unlimited time to build and tweak their decks. From that point on, league players can play their matches at their leisure. The league is different from a traditional draft because there is very little chance that you will play against the players that you drafted with. Draft leagues sound like a lot of fun and a great addition to MTGO. Draft leagues arrive September 7th. Draft leagues. The most recent episode of Walking the Plains, titled What's the Play, has hit the interwebs and was instantly one of my favorite episodes. While the meat of the video is about Pro Tour Eldritch Moon, the opening sequence is the real gem. It truly is an amazing piece of logistical planning and story editing. Click the box. No joke. Nathan Holt and Sean Kornhauser really knocked this one out of the Palace of Coolness. Let's take a quick look at upcoming events. Just in case you didn't click the box, or there was no box, links to all videos and sources in the description below. Hey, page zombie! Let's scavenge through the pages of Magic lore to find out everything we can about Kaladesh before we get our first official peek into the set at PAX. I thought maybe I'd make a few baseless predictions and speculations regarding the story and mechanics of Kaladesh and see how many of them are confirmed or destroyed by the reveals at PAX. The tagline for Kaladesh is Invent Your Tomorrow, so I expect mechanics designed to make you feel like an inventor. But how can this be achieved? Variety, for me, is the key to successfully implementing an invention theme. In other words, if my opponent and I are playing similar invention-themed decks, the variance in what we can and will invent should be substantial, so we are always inventing different things. If my inventions are always the same as my opponent's, I'd feel more like a copy zombie rather than a brilliant inventor. I can envision a mechanic that works similar to imprint. Let's call it invent. When you invent, you exile a card from your hand. Simple and elegant enough. Powerful, I think, but not broken. I think. You will lose card advantage by exiling cards to invent early in a game, but you would gain scalable advantage as you produced more powerful inventions in greater numbers as the game goes on. And there's a chance your opponent is doing the same thing, negating the card advantage and creating a race to build the biggest, baddest fun machine. I could see this happen. Some of you may have noticed that I used the term create an invention. That's because Rise from the Tides is an upcoming promo card and it was previewed featuring a new way to template put a token onto the battlefield. Switching to this template with create makes the most sense for a set that is going to spew out a lot of tokens. What could those tokens be? We'll get to that in a minute. However things are invented or created on Kaladesh, I expect a heavy artifact theme, as teased in the Kaladesh related cards that appeared in Magic Origins. I don't expect a set full of colorless artifacts. I expect artifacts with a colored casting cost, which gives wizards freedom to print an artifact-heavy set with a variety of possible decks, instead of the best artifacts just being lumped together in any deck. Think of how well Devoid worked to keep the color pie intact and the decks varied in Battle for Zendikar. We have been introduced to the Planeswalker Saheeli Rai. and that is about all that is known about her. At first glance, I expected Saheeli Rai to be a blue-red artifact-themed planeswalker, but the more I think about it, I'm not sure. We are going to see a Chandra in this block, so standard would be a little clogged with red planeswalkers. Assuming that Saheeli Rai is a hero, she could be Jeskai colors. A 3-color cost would keep the planeswalkers in color balance despite being heavy red for a set because she couldn't just fit into every red deck. But what if she is the villain? There is room for a blue-black planeswalker. What if Saheeli Rai is the Esper-colored power behind the console and their Iron Fist rule over the Aether of Kaladesh? Take a look at these excerpts from Chandra's origin story, Fire Logic by Doug Beyer. The excerpts reference the Aether. What is Aether? According to the excerpts, Aether can be the fuel of invention or the power of a weapon. The tagline for Aether Revolt, the second set in the Kaladesh block, is, "It's time to take the power back." It is possible that WotC R&D could just print a 3/2 creature and call it Aether Charged Soldier to satisfy the flavor, but that is not their style. If Aether is important in the set, then it has its own mechanical space to drive the theme home. What is the simplest design I can come up with that satisfies the fuel and weapon power flavor? It is time to circle back around to those artifact tokens. There are 2 ways I can see this going. 1. Aether bottle tokens are artifacts that are sacrificed to produce colorless mana. This makes flavor sense because Aether is a resource like mana, but it isn't mana. By controlling the set's access to colorless mana and printing cards that activate with colorless mana becomes the Aether for this set. I could see this happening because the technology to do it already exists. Aether tokens can be used generically as mana to ramp into bigger spells or specifically to activate Aether-related abilities. Magic in a bottle. 2. Aether tokens are sacrificed to put charge counters on permanents, and charge counters will be a thing. While I could see this happening, there are complexity issues that would need to be bridged, and I'm not really able to speculate on that without more hints to the set because there are so many directions this design could take. So we'll see the suffering on Kaladesh and get acquainted with how the console keeps the Aether under control. Then in Aether Revolt, we'll find out how Chandra leads the charge against the console to give the people back what is rightfully theirs, the Aether. How will the story play out? Stay tuned. What kind of mechanics are you expecting in Kaladesh and Aether Revolt? Are my speculations zombie goodness or dragon fodder? How does Kaladesh tie into the Gatewatch and the multiverse as a whole? Put your thoughts and predictions in the comments below. Links to all articles and references in the description. Page Zombie. Let's talk strategy. I've joined an Eldritch Moon friendly sealed league on MTGO and I'm about to take my blue-green emerge deck to battle in match number 1. And away I go. I won the die roll. I will play first. Let's take a look at my opening hand. It's not that good. I have 3 lands, both colors, but no early action. I have to keep it. I have a drag under if things get desperate. A grapple with the past to get going. And hope for the best. So I play an island, my opponent plays a plains, and I draw a Kessig Diaswine. Okay, so plan hasn't changed. My opponent casts a Field Creeper. I cannot block that. It's not good. Yeah, I'll grapple with the past. I'll get there. So I gotta take the forest. I can't cast a Lurker, and I have nothing to sacrifice to the Eldritch Evolution. So draw a land. Drag under the Field Creeper to buy myself as much time as possible. To protect my life total. Or an island. So now I have 6 land. Should be able to cast my Diaswine on turn 6 if I can live that long. My opponent plays a Byway Courier. I draw a Lashweed Lurker. It's looking tough. I'm going to be taking lots of damage here. Byway Courier hits me in the face for 3. I drop to 17. And then the Field Creeper comes back. So I draw my second Kessig Diaswine. I have nothing I can cast. Nothing I can do but take 5 to my face on my opponent's turn. It's not looking good. So attacks with both creatures. I'm going to go from 17 to 12. I have my 6 land, I have a couple of big creatures to cast, but I gotta hope it's enough. My opponent casts a Reckless Scholar, so that's 3 creatures to deal with now. So I drop the Kessig Dire Swine and hope it sticks. You can block anything, but it has to stick around. Otherwise I'm taking 7. Well, my opponent chokes out the Kessig Dire Swine. My pig has been choked out, choking restraints. So I take 7. I drop to 5. Looks like I'm sacrificing the swine to an emerge creature. So let's emerge the lurker, sacrifice the swine. And we'll put the Byway Courier back on top of my opponent's library because it has the most power. My leftover mana, I can cast the Cultist and leave mana up for turn aside, because I have to protect that lurker. I'm at 5 life. My opponent catalogs, discards a mountain, sacrifices the creeper to emerge a Wretched Griff. Man, that card is bananas. No attacks, though. I draw a land. Don't know how much it matters. But I had to go on the offensive. I'm at 5 life. I can't give my opponent that many turns, and in fact, I can't block a 3/4 flyer. So my opponent drops to 15. I'll emerge the Scuttler, sacrifice the Cultist, draw a card off the Cultist, and get back to Drag Under. I know that if I drag under my opponent's Griff that they'll just get to draw a card when they recast it, but it's what I have to do. Can't block it. So I drag under the Griff and draw a Griff of my own. Okay, now I can block the Griff. That's good news. Oh, wait. My opponent loots, discards an Alchemist Greening, pays the Madness, and burns out the Lurker. So I turn it aside. The Byway Courier makes a return appearance, and then dies immediately to an emerged creature's sacrifice. And the Griff comes back. My opponent investigates, draws a card, has a 3/4 flyer, and waves to Value Town. So I draw a forest. It's a common thing. I'd attack first with everything. The Griff cannot block profitably. So no blocks, my opponent's down to 6, and I drop the Griff to block the Griff. And I'll run the Prowler out there too. And I'll cast the Griff straight up, no emerge, because that's how I roll. I draw a card, it's a forest. The land train continues. Choo-choo. Opponent sacrifices a clue, does a bit of looting, discards Fiery Temper, and blasts my Prowler. Then sacrifices the Scholar to emerge. In It of the Horrid Swarm. And a bunch of little blocker buddies. Okay. And Terrarian comes into play tapped. So I draw a cultist. Better than a land. Attack with everything but the Griff so I can block and bounce off the flyer. So the 4/4 trades with the Lurker, and my 4/5 Scuttler eats a token. It's okay. Still have the 4/5. I'm about to cast a Cultist and a Kessig Dire Swine. And my opponent still has 3 cards in hand, but all my cards are on the table. Let's hope it's enough. Bye-bye Terrarian. 2 white mana in the pool. 4 white mana, 6 mana total, 7 mana total. It's an Angel of Deliverance. That's gonna hurt. That might be the game. What do we draw? Silver Fur Partisan. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the game. I'll attack with everything, hoping for a misclick. Nope. Maybe not. Nope. The Griffs will bounce. Token blocks the Dire Swine. The Angel eats the Scuttler, and then the ability kills my Griff. And now I can't block 9 power flying, so I lose. I'm still pretty confident that I have what it takes to win this thing. I gotta watch out for that Angel. I could use a little bit of early action, but other than that, here we go. I got this. Okay, here we go. Game 2. Yes, I'd like to play first. Whoa, all land. That is not gonna help me get revenge. Okay, after a mulligan, this is more my speed. I get 2 cultists, 3 lands, both my colors, and a drag under on top. I can handle that. So I play a forest. I draw my drag under. Play my second land. My opponent plays that pesky Field Creeper. I draw a forest. It's time to run out the cultist. I will block that creeper all day. I will trade all day. I'll happily draw a card. My opponent casts a Shrill Howler. I cannot block that, so I will be on the attack plan. Attacks from my opponent, so well, I draw an Eldritch Evolution, so I will stay on the attack plan. I don't expect a block. I am willing to trade. No blocks. My opponent takes 2. I get in 2 free points of damage. Time to cast the Eldritch Evolution. Sacrifice the cultist. I draw a card. Happens to be a 6/6 snapper. And then I will go fetch for 5 mana and advance Stitchwing. See if my opponent can block my flyer. No attacks. So I draw a forest. I'll play my forest. I'll attack with my Stitchwing. What else am I going to do with it? It's meant for smacking. Cast my second cultist. And pass the turn. Yeah, there we go. Now the Howler's going sideways. I ain't blocking, so I'm taking 3. Down to 17, but I still like where I'm at. Oh, my opponent casts an Outcast. That's that 4/4 Trampler dude. I draw an Intrepid Provisioner. So I'm going to cast it. I'm going to make my cultist a 4/4 and dare my opponent to block it. So fly over 2. 7 damage coming at you. So the creeper blocks the cultist. That's good. I get him for 3. My opponent's at 12. I'm gonna take a bunch from that outcast though. Might be time to drag that outcast under, maybe. Maybe. Yeah, I'm not gonna block with the provisioner. Yeah, the outcast gets pumped. Take 5 down to 12. Then the alchemist greeting burns out the Stitchwing. Okay. Time to get serious. So I draw a Kessig Direswine, but I don't have the mana to cast it. Can't cast a Snapper either. So I turn them sideways. No blocks, like for 5. My opponent's down to 7. And then it's time to just cast a Griff. Emerge it from the cultist. So I will be drawing 2 cards. First one, a forest. Second one, an island. Lovely. Not as disappointed as I may have sounded, because now I could play my land, drag under the outcast, and I have 6 mana to cast the Snapper and the Swine. And I drew a forest off the drag under, so now I have 2 forests to get rid of to get the Stitchwing back. My opponent cast the Griff. So we're at the G&G Bounce Factory. Draw an island, play an island. Play out the Snapper. I can't attack, the Provisioner can't the Provisioner can't get through the Griff. The Griff can't get through the Griff. It's tongue twisters. And it of the Hard Swarm. That's a lot of blockers. Alright, so I draw a Vexing Scuttler. I think that's the new plan. So I'll merge that through the Provisioners, because that 3/3 trample can't get through anything. Opponent's not going to block with a token. So I'll get back the drag under with the Scuttler. And I can't attack, the Griffs just bounce. So that's the end of the turn. The end of my opponent's turn, I'm going to bring back the Stitchwing. My opponent replays the outcast. And does not attack. So we discard 1 forest, 2 forest. Get back a flying zombie. Take it. Draw my second drag under, and my opponent cannot block 2 flyers. Doesn't matter which one he blocks, they're both 3/4s. They both bounce, so my opponent should be taking 3. That's what happens. My opponent's down to 4. And I'm going to run out a Kessig Direswine. My battlefield is large. My opponent's at 4. A lot of mana. Set the Angel. There's the Angel. Angel of Deliverance. I got 2 drag unders for that though. Nope, no attacks from my opponent, so I believe the game is mine. Let's see, first we bada bing. Drag under the Angel. Draw an island. Bada bing. Bada boom. Drag under the Griff. And Delve Daddy wins. Alright, game 2 belongs to me. I still got no good sideboard action. I'm still only concerned about that Angel. I'm 1-1 going into game 3. Here we go. Alright, my opponent chooses to play first, and I draw a terrible hand. 1 land, no action. Nothing. Got a mulligan. Better hand. 3 land, both colors, occultist. Grab the past, I'll put that on top of my library. Help me find a creature or a land to cast bigger ones, whatever I need. So my opponent plays a forest, I drop an island, and we call it a turn 1. That field creeper just keeps coming every dang turn 2. More relentless than a zombie. It's gonna hit me in the face for 2. Again. Boom. Yep. So I drop to 18. I'm gonna grapple with the past here. After my opponent casts a Reckless Scholar. Yeah, I'll do it in response. So we put a Foul Emissary, a Lashweed Lurker, and a Kessig Direswine in the graveyard. Well, that's good. We were going to draw those big fats and not be able to cast them, so... Take the Emissary, draw a Drag Under, play a 3rd land, cast a Cultist. I will trade that Cultist. I will draw cards. So my opponent plays a Bloodbriar. It's a 2/3 that does not trade with the Cultist. That will be slightly more problematic. Okay, draw a Provisioner that I can't cast. So I run out the Emissary. I go looking, and I find 3 land and a Prowler. So I have to take the Prowler and put those 3 lands that I could use on the way bottom of the library. It's so far away. It's like 24 cards away. I can't attack with the Cultist because of the Bloodbriar, so I gotta pass the turn. Opponent loots with the Scholar, discards an Alchemist Greeting with no red mana to Madness it, so I'm safe. I draw a Silver Fur Partisan. So I decide to run out the Prowler, leave the mana up for either a Waxing Moon or a Turn Aside, whatever I need. I draw my 4th land. My opponent misses a land drop, so I'm gonna run out the Provisioner. Do what it do often, make my Cultist big, and I'm gonna attack with a 4/4. That can get through the Bloodbriar, but it doesn't need to. My opponent takes it to the face, drops to 16, loots with the Scholar at the end of my turn. There we go, 4th land, finally, turn 7 for my opponent. All 4 colors, though. Loots again with the Scholar, and there's a 2nd Alchemist Greeting. This time the Madness will be paid, and the Provisioner will get toasted. It's okay. Terrarian enters the battlefield tapped. Let's see, any attacks? No attacks from our opponent. I draw a Duskwatch Recruiter. So I drop the Partisan. This way here, if my opponent decides to do anything fishy to any of my wolves, token. Okay, so sacrificing the Terrarian puts a counter on the Bloodbriar. The incendiary flow on the Partisan is going to be turned aside. With my wolf, is my wolf token. And the Choking Restraints on the Prowler. It's okay, better on the Prowler than, well, Lashweed Lurker. I draw an island, so I'm at 5 land, finally. Drag under the Bloodbriar. Bye-bye counter. Draw a card. It's another drag under. Okay, I dig. Attack with the wolf and the cultist. I will trade them straight up across the board. So the creeper blocks the wolf. Cultist gets through. Don't think my opponent wants me drawing cards. So then I cast the recruiter. Pass the turn. Feeling pretty good about things. Lone Rider, 1/1 first strike lifelink. And the Bloodbriar was not unexpected. Yeah, my opponent has no attacks. I'm going on the offense. I draw an island. Cast the Lurker. So I'm gonna merge the Emissary. Because what's that 1/1 gonna do? Nothing. It's gonna become a 3/2 Eldrazi. Well, it's an emerged creature, right? That it's getting sacrificed to, so it's going to become a Lurker and bring an Eldrazi token with it. If you want to get technical. Okay, my clock is red, but that's okay. I got battlefield position, and I'm attacking. So in there with the team that can attack. Again, willing to trade across the board. It's okay. But there aren't trades. My opponent drops to 8. Sitting on a Waxing Moon and a Dragunda. And I'm ahead. Draw a forest. The land train is back, but that's okay. I think I have what it takes right now. Attack with the team. Go, team, go. Let's go. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Block all those babies. There you go. Okay, Waxing Moon gives him trample. Saves my recruiter. And my opponent's going to take 1, 2, 3, plus 4 is 7, plus 2 is 9, plus 2 is 11. Barring any tricks I got there. Signing some damage, and Delve Daddy wins the match. Was it ever in question? Yeah, but I did it. Thanks, peoples. That ends this episode of Tasigur TV. Delve into more fun with me next episode when I discuss the point system the 11th Guild uses to rank their multiplayer games, catch up on conspiracy lore, check in on the Sealed League for Match 2, and more. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and share. If you did not enjoy this episode, please dislike and share. Please feel obligated to comment below. Subscribe to stay up to date on the latest from Tasigur TV, and I'll see you next adventure. Love always, Tasigur.